Hello, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be my March perfume tray. I'm going to pick 10 fragrances from my collection to wear and enjoy during March, and I'm also going to review my most worn fragrances from February. If you haven't seen me before, I talk all about fragrances on this channel. I talk about perfume science, perfume history, perfume psychology, and I also just do some straight perfume reviews, fun perfume tags, and these monthly tray videos. So if that kind of thing interests you and you haven't already done so, then please do consider subscribing, and please also press the like button if you do enjoy this kind of content. So February for me was pretty busy, and I just had a few deadlines to meet as always, but also I had my birthday and I enjoyed myself on my birthday, and I bought myself some treats, so you will see those in this video. So which were my most worn fragrances during February? Well, there were two for my tray that I ended up wearing more so than the others. And the first of those was Guerlain's Insolence. So this fragrance, I wore it in particularly cold weather during February, and it seemed to make it even fruitier. It also seemed to enhance the texture of this fragrance. If you try those Parma Violet sweets, you get the texture of those Parma Violet sweets. You get the kind of almost chalky texture of those sweets alongside that kind of violet fuzz that you get with those sweets as well, a fuzzy sweetness from this fragrance, and I just think that goes well with cold weather. So that's why I ended up reaching for this one quite so much during February. And the second fragrance from my February tray that I ended up wearing a lot was Musk Noir Rose. So I think I was just into the cleanness of this fragrance this month. Even though this fragrance is very sweet, even though it's quite sticky, this fragrance definitely has that soapy musk, that Narciso musk that is very front and centre in this whole line. But I sort of always thought of this fragrance as more of a musky vanilla really, but I really feel like the musky soapy aspect of this fragrance shone through for me this month. So yeah, that's another one that I ended up wearing quite a bit. And then the third fragrance I ended up wearing a lot during February was one that wasn't from my tray. I was gifted this in PR, and normally when I get PR, I would say probably about 95% of things that I get, I'm not particularly enamoured with. And this was just such a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed this one. So this is Power of You by Emporio Armani. And if you haven't tried it, it's basically a syrupy passion fruit alongside a deep kind of almost sugary vanilla, like a vanilla 28 style vanilla kind of fragrance in the dry down. But the passion fruit is just so good in the opening. It is sweet, it is quite a simple fragrance, there's nothing too complicated about this one, but it's just really happy feeling, and I think that's something that I just really enjoy in fragrances, when things feel happy and joyous. So yeah, Emporio Armani's Power of You was also one of my most worn in February. So what kind of fragrances am I looking to put on my March tray? Well, actually, I bought some fragrances during February because it was my birthday. I've definitely done a bit of from me to me gifting, and I want to put those on my tray because I'm excited to try them. I'm excited to get to know them, and I just want to wear them. So they're going to be worn anyway, whether they're on my tray or not on my tray. So they're going on my tray. I would also like to have some spring floral fragrances. I really want to embrace the season, and I'm really just so looking forward to spring and urging it to appear that I think some spring florals have to go on my tray. I would also really like some clean fragrances. I want something really work appropriate. And I would also like a cold weather fragrance, at least one, just in case the weather completely goes back to how it was a few weeks ago and I'm looking for something sweet and syrupy and comforting. So let's get on with this, which is my first selection for March. So the first fragrance is the one that I'm most excited about wearing this month. This is the one that's my from me to me birthday present, and the one that I've really been wanting for several years. I first tried this in a sample from a friend, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and I don't really understand why it's taken me so long to purchase this one, but I'm so pleased to have it. So this one is Amouage's Portrayal. I've worn it twice so far, and yeah, it's living up to expectations, thankfully. But yeah, this one is a super bold jasmine fragrance. If you love jasmine as much as I do, this is definitely a fragrance to check out. So this is a very full bloom, heady feeling jasmine alongside vanilla and also some tobacco and some golden feeling resins. It just melds together really well, this fragrance. and it's meant to be inspired by societal change and expanding freedoms. And I guess the boldness is really what comes across with this fragrance. And I've just really enjoyed this one the few times I've worn it so far, and I just want to wear it more. It doesn't smell like any other jasmine that I have owned or that I've smelt. It's something that I think stands out. It's just a very different feeling fragrance, and I think this was actually the first fragrance I ever tried from Amouage, and clearly it made an impression. So that's Amouage's Portrayal. So the second fragrance is a massive contrast to the first one, and this was also something that I picked up during February, and I'd owned another fragrance in this line and not particularly got along with it, and I just wanted to give the line a second chance because I tried this one in store a while back and I knew that I liked it, but I know it's been reformulated, so I ended up buying a vintage bottle. This is Sensuous by Estée Lauder, and I just really like this. I wore it a few times to work, and I think this one is going to be a regular choice come summer. This is something that I think is very work appropriate, but also just a really hot weather appropriate fragrance too. It's clean, it's luminous, it's bright, it feels sunny, almost a little bit beachy. It's a sandalwood fragrance essentially, but it also has a bit of a body cream feel to it. Definitely a very clean fragrance overall, and something that I think it smells to me almost like when you walk into a ritual shop. It's got a spa feel to it almost. Just been really enjoying this one. I think, when I had that other fragrance from this line, I had Sensuous Nude. There was something about that fragrance that I just didn't get along with. There was a texture there or some ingredient there that I just didn't love. And this one is really everything that I thought that Sensuous Nude would be. This one, I think, just has better longevity than Sensuous Nude too. So yeah, really pleased with this purchase and definitely the right one from the line for me. So that's Sensuous by Estée Lauder. So the third fragrance is a contrast again, and this one is really a spring floral fragrance. And I bought this last autumn and I'd smelt it in store, but I did try it on a few times and I thought, no, this isn't the time for this one. I need to try this in spring. That's when this one is going to shine. So I'm bringing it out for March because I'm just excited about spring and I just can't wait to wear all my spring fragrances. So this one is Byredo's La Tulipe. And this is really an interesting combination of powdery pink smelling notes alongside some bitter or tart smelling green notes as well. It's almost like got a heliotrope or iris kind of smell to it in the opening. It's powdery, but it isn't sweet. And then there's also a kind of green, slightly bitter feeling from this, which I guess might be the rhubarb. And there's also a pink feeling to it, so I guess that's a cyclamen. This one's even a little bit makeup-y, and it makes me think of the centres of flowers. A centre of a bulb flower. So I describe this as a powdery, sweet, soapy floral. And I think this is just a fragrance I'm going to choose to wear on a slightly frosty spring morning when it's bright, but it's still a little bit cool. So yeah, that's Byredo's La Tulipe. So the next fragrance is another spring floral, and this time it's rose. So this one is Dior's Rose N Roses. And I just think this fragrance is totally underappreciated for how good it is. I think this one really stands out in the world of roses. I think, for me, it's something I just didn't even bother to try. When this first got released several years ago, I looked at the notes and I thought, no, this is going to be boring. I'm just not going to bother. And how wrong was I? As soon as I tried this, I wanted a bottle. I immediately bought a bottle that day. I just was so taken by this one and how beautiful it is. It's a pretty pink feeling, slightly powdery rose, but it's just done so well, and it's got a very slight greenness to it as well, which keeps it nice and fresh. Sometimes powdery fragrances can be overwhelming, can't they? They can be cloying. This is not that. It's still quite light and quite airy, and I'm guessing that's why it's not super popular, because it's not a beast. It's not one of those fragrances that slaps you around the face. This is definitely more of a delicate, pretty fragrance, but just perfect for spring. So that's Dior's Rose N Roses. So the next fragrance is a bit of a crossover between a spring floral and a super clean feeling fragrance. And this one is Dropped Issey by Issey Miyake. So if you're in the UK, I've seen this one in TK Maxx recently for £15 for 50ml. I've never seen it priced that low before, but I guess it's either being discontinued or it's maybe being reformulated. It's clearly one of the two. This fragrance, I think I love it because of the lilac. The opening to me is the beautiful bit, and you know, the dry down's okay, the dry down's fine, but I definitely like the opening more than the final dry down. The final dry down is all about a soapy, kind of lotiony style fragrance. It's very your skin but better, straight out the shower kind of fragrance. It's got a feeling almost of a Dove soap to it, but also there's just a kind of almond body cream kind of smell to it too. I think this fragrance is actually deceptively strong. It's something that does really project, and I think it's one of those smells, because it just smells quite clean. I think you could be wearing a fragrance or you could be just wearing a body product. I think it's really one of those stealth fragrances you could probably get away with in situations perhaps where more definite fragrances would be a complete no. So that's Drop to Issey by Issey Miyake. So the next fragrance is again a very affordable feeling floral, a spring floral fragrance, and this one is Cerruti 1881. So this fragrance, I don't necessarily sense individual notes in this one, it's just one overall smell. It starts out quite aquatic, and then by the time it dries down, it's a floral, powdery, musky, slightly woody fragrance. Things that I'd probably highlight here would be the chamomile and also the mimosa, but again, it's more of an overall smell. I just think that's probably what's contributing most to that powdery and bright feeling in this fragrance. This one, if you haven't smelt it, I think the fragrance that I would compare this to would be something like Miracle by Lancome. They don't smell exactly like it at all, but I think the feeling that you get from Miracle, the cleanness and the brightness and the pinkness, is sort of reflected in this fragrance. And of course, they're from a similar time period as well. I think this one came out in 1995, and I think Miracle was 1999, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I would definitely think if you like Miracle, you'll probably like this one. So that's Cerruti 1881. So the next fragrance is quite a solar feeling floral fragrance, and I think I'm maybe being a bit hopeful for how bright and sunny March might be, but let's put it on my tray for this month and see how it goes. So this one, I've just been thinking about it recently and looking forward to wearing it, and I thought, yeah, I'll put it on my tray. So this one is Chopard Sparkling Love. This is a really affordable fragrance. I think I paid less than £15 for 30ml of it. And I have to say, with Chopard fragrances, I've not ever had one that has disappointed me. I've had ones that I haven't particularly got along with, but I think that's more something that's personal taste rather than I thought that fragrance wasn't a good fragrance. This one is a really creamy feeling white floral fragrance. It's tuberose, it's jasmine, it has a citrusy undertone, and there's also something bright and almost tropical feeling to this. It makes me think a little bit of the smell of papaya, and there's nothing like papaya listed here, but that's always what I sense with this one. I just think this one really stands out as a good value, lovely white floral fragrance. I think when white floral fragrances aren't that expensive, I'm always a bit suspicious they're going to be a bit soapy, and this one isn't soapy in the slightest. It's quite creamy, but I definitely think you have to love tuberose to enjoy this one. So that's Sparkling Love by Chopard. So next we're back to the Your Skin But Better kinds of fragrances, and this one is from Miller Harris. It's called Peau Santal. So this one, I think when I first got it, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting something quite sweet and almost more milky in style. This is definitely a fragrance with a slight spice to it. It's got some resins, but it's also quite a quiet fragrance. It's quite an intimate fragrance. It's more of a neutral style sandalwood to me. It's something I like wearing to work. I just find it very calming, and I think it fits in nicely with spring. I think this is also something you can use to layer with other fragrances. You know, if you just want a bit of a sandalwood note alongside other things, this definitely works as a layering fragrance too. So that's Peau Santal by Miller Harris. So for the final two fragrances on my tray this month, I really want fragrances that are suitable for the colder weather, because you never know what you're going to get in the UK in March. It can be lovely, it can be bright, it can be sunny, or it can be really cold and freezing. So this is definitely the really cold and freezing kind of end of the fragrance spectrum. So the first one is going to be Viktor Rolf's Flowerbomb, and I think this is an odd choice to people now, because I think a lot of people maybe don't like this one now, maybe it's faded from popularity, but I just think this one is a classic. And whilst I don't necessarily enjoy the opening of this fragrance, I find the dry down of it completely addictive. I love this trail this leaves. There's something about the sweetness and the tea and the patchouli that I just find intoxicating. And I totally see now why this was so successful. At the time, when this came out, I really wasn't bothered by it. I didn't see the love for it. And I never owned more than a little travel size or a little mini bottle of this. But ultimately now, I rebought it again last year in a fit of nostalgia. And I've been really enjoying wearing this one. So yeah, I want this one on my tray this month. So that's Flowerbomb by Viktor Rolf. And my final choice for this month, because basically I enjoyed it so much when I was testing it out last month, I know I'm going to reach for this one again. And this is Power of You by Giorgio Armani. So I've already talked about this one. You know the reasons why I'm probably putting this on my tray. I just think this one is just an excellent fragrance. I'm so taken aback by how much I enjoy this. Honestly, if I hadn't been sent this, I probably wouldn't have even bothered to go and try it in a store. It's just not something that I would have thought that I would have loved. I just have tried other passion fruit fragrances and just not got along with them at all. But I just think the passion fruit here is so nicely done. And I love the sweetness. It's just a really sweet, syrupy, simple fragrance. And yeah, it's totally got me. So yeah, definitely going to be wearing this one anyway, whether I put it on my tray or not. So it has to go on. So that's Power of You by Giorgio Armani. So that's the final fragrance in this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, then please do press the like button, and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And also please do let me know which fragrances you reach for most in February and which you're excited to wear in March. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.